Chioma Okonkwo knelt in the dust outside her family compound in Awka, Anambra State, watching her father count the 200,000 naira her new husband had just paid for her. What she didn't know was that the man who bought her would turn out to be Nigeria's youngest billionaire, and her inability to have children would become the very reason he chose her. You think this is just another arranged marriage story? Think again. What this billionaire discovers about Chioma will change both their lives forever. But first, smash that like button and subscribe, because this story has twists that will leave you speechless. 26-year-old Chioma had endured 7 years of marriage to Okechukwu, 7 years of monthly disappointment, 7 years of his family calling her Agbanj, a cursed woman who refused to bear children. The traditional doctors had examined her, the pastors had prayed over her, and the hospital tests had all come back the same: unexplained infertility. When Okechukwu finally divorced her and sent her back to her father's house in disgrace, Chioma thought her life was over. In Igbo culture, a woman without children was seen as incomplete, cursed, worthless. Her father, Chief Emeka Okonkwo, had 5 other daughters and was tired of feeding what he called a useless mouth. No man will marry you properly now, her father had declared 3 months ago. You're damaged goods. But there are men who will pay good money for a woman to cook and clean, even if she can't breed. The man who came to buy her was Chief Ikena Okoro, a quiet man in his early 30s who spoke softly and wore expensive but simple clothes. He had arrived in a modest Toyota Camry, not the flashy cars most wealthy men preferred. When he looked at Chioma, there was no lust in his eyes, no cruelty, just a deep sadness that seemed to match her own. She can't have children. Her father had warned him. I want to be honest about that. I know. Chief Ikena had replied simply, "That's exactly why I want her." The statement had confused everyone, including Chioma. Why would any man specifically want a barren woman? Now, as she packed her few belongings into a small bag, her mother, Enemy Margaret, whispered urgently in her ear, "Listen to me, my daughter. This man paid twice what your father asked for. He's not ordinary. Be smart, be useful, and maybe your curse will become a blessing." The drive to Enugu took 2 hours, and Chief Ikena spoke very little. When he did talk, it was to ask general questions about her preferences, what food she liked, if she got carsick, whether she wanted the air conditioning higher. No man had ever asked her such considerate questions, not even her ex-husband. "Chief Ikena," she finally ventured, "may I ask, why did you want someone who can't have children?" He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he pulled into a rest stop and turned to look at her properly for the first time. "Because I already have 5 children, and their mothers are all trying to kill each other." Chioma's eyes widened. 5 children? From 3 different women. None of them were wives. They were all business arrangements that became complicated. Now they fight constantly, use the children as weapons against each other, and make my house a war zone. He looked out the windshield with exhausted eyes. "I need someone who won't want to add more children to the chaos. Someone who won't see my kids as competition for their own. Someone who might actually care for them as they are. But why not just get a nanny? Because nannies leave, and because..." He paused, looking vulnerable for the first time. "Because I've been alone for so long. I've forgotten what it feels like to have someone in my house who's there for me, not for what they can get from me." As they resumed driving, Chioma began to see Chief Ikena differently. He wasn't a man who bought women. He was a father desperate to bring peace to his household. The house and Independence layout. Enugu was stunning, a modern mansion with a circular driveway and perfectly manicured grounds. But as they pulled up, Chioma could hear shouting from inside. "Daddy's back! Daddy's back!" Children's voices called out. But then a woman's voice screamed, "Keep those bastard children away from mine. I don't want them touching anything that belongs to my son." Another woman shouted back, "Your son? Your precious chitty isn't any more special than my twins." Chief Ikena's hands gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles went white. "Welcome to my peaceful home," he said bitterly. As they walked toward the front door, it burst open and 3 children came running out, a boy of about 8 and 2 girls who looked like twins, maybe 6 years old. "Daddy! Daddy!" the boy called. Mama Adana and Mama Ngozi are fighting again, and they locked us out of the kitchen. Behind them came 2 more children, another boy around 7 and a girl about 5, both looking scared and hungry. "We haven't eaten since yesterday," one of the twins whispered to her father. "The mamas said we have to wait until they finish fighting about the housekeeping money." Chioma's heart broke looking at these beautiful, neglected children caught in the middle of their mother's wars. Without thinking, she knelt down to their level. "Hello, my beautiful ones. My name is Chioma. Who wants to help me make some rice and stew?" The children looked at their father uncertainly, then back at this kind woman who spoke to them like they mattered. Just then, 2 women emerged from the house, both dressed expensively but with fury in their eyes. The first one, tall and light-skinned, pointed at Chioma accusingly. "Ikenna, who is this woman? And why is she talking to my children?" The second woman, shorter but equally fierce, crossed her arms. "I hope you didn't bring another baby mama into this house. We have enough problems." Chief Ikenna stood protectively in front of Chioma. "This is Chioma. She's my wife now." Both women started talking at once. "Wife? You can't be serious. What about us? What about our children's inheritance? This skinny thing looks like she can't even have children." "That's the point," Chief Ikenna said quietly, but his voice carried authority that silenced him. "She's here to take care of all the children equally, not to compete with anyone." Chioma watched the dynamics and understood immediately. These women didn't love Chief Ikenna. They saw him as a bank account. They didn't care about each other's children, only about securing their own children's financial future. "Mama Adana, Mama Ngozi," Chioma said respectfully to both women, "I'm not here to take anything from your children. I'm here to help take care of all of them." "We don't need your help," Mama Adana snapped. "Then why?" Chioma asked gently. "Haven't these beautiful children eaten since yesterday?" The question hung in the air like an accusation. Both women looked guilty but defiant. That's when Chief Ikenna's phone rang. After a brief conversation, his face went pale. "I have to fly to Lagos tonight. Emergency board meeting." He looked at the chaos around him. 2 angry women, 5 hungry children, and 1 new wife who was still a stranger. "Chioma," he said urgently, "I know this isn't what you expected, but can you—" "I'll take care of them," she said simply. As Chief Ikenna's car disappeared down the driveway, Chioma found herself alone with 5 children and 2 hostile women who saw her as a threat to their meal tickets. What she didn't know was that Chief Ikenna's emergency meeting was about a business crisis that could cost him everything, and that someone had been watching his house, waiting for exactly this moment when he would be most vulnerable. Will Chioma survive her first night in this war zone? What's the real reason Chief Ikenna had to leave so suddenly? And who's been watching the house? The next chapter reveals a family secret that will shock you. Hit that notification bell, because this story is about to get intense. The kitchen had become a battlefield by 9 p.m., with Mama Adana and Mama Ngozi screaming at each other while 5 hungry children huddled in the corner. But what Chioma discovered in Chief Ikenna's study would reveal that their family problems were nothing compared to the enemies gathering outside. If you thought managing 5 kids and 2 angry baby mamas was hard, wait until you see what Chioma finds in Chief Ikenna's private office. Don't forget to like this video if you're already rooting for our new stepmom. Chioma had managed to feed all 5 children, 8-year-old Kelechi, 7-year-old Chitty, 6-year-old twins Adiz and Amara, and 5-year-old Chinanai, while their mothers continued their war in the living room. The children had been so grateful for a simple meal of rice and chicken stew that it broke her heart. "Mama Chioma," little Chinanai had whispered, "are you going to leave like the other ladies Daddy brought home?" "Other ladies?" Chioma had asked gently while braiding Adiz's hair. Kelechi, the oldest, explained, "Daddy tried to bring 3 different ladies to help with us, but Mama Adana and Mama Ngozi always chase him away. They said the ladies were trying to steal Daddy's money." Amara added. Chioma was beginning to understand the depth of dysfunction Chief Ikenna was dealing with. These women had turned his home into a prison where no peace could exist. After putting the children to bed, a process that took 2 hours because Mama Adana and Mama Ngozi kept arguing about which children could sleep where, Chioma found herself alone in the guest room Chief Ikena had assigned her. The house was finally quiet, but she could hear whispering from the main living area. Curious, she crept toward the sound and overheard Mama Adana talking on her phone. Yes, he brought home another woman. No, this one is different. She seems to actually care about all the children. That's exactly the problem. If the children love her, she could influence Ikena about the will. Chioma's blood ran cold. They were plotting against her before she'd even been in the house for one day. Unable to sleep, she decided to explore the house and better understand her new home. Most rooms were beautifully furnished but felt cold and used. But when she reached Chief Ikena's study, she found the door slightly ajar and a light still on. Thinking he might have returned early, she knocked softly and entered. The study was empty, but papers were scattered across his desk as if he'd left in a hurry. As she moved to turn off the light, her eyes caught a document that made her freeze. It was a legal letter from a law firm. Custody challenge. Adana Nwankwo versus Ikena Okoro. Her hand shaking, she read further. Mama Adana was suing Chief Ikena for full custody of Kelechi and demanding half his assets as compensation for emotional distress and child support. But that wasn't the worst part. The next document was from a private investigator. Subject: Ikena Okoro, asset investigation. Client: Ngozi Okafor. Mama Ngozi was having Chief Ikena investigated, probably building a case for her own custody suit. The third document made Chioma sit down hard in Chief Ikena's leather chair. It was a medical report. Patient: Ikena Okoro. Diagnosis: chronic kidney disease, stage 3. Prognosis: without treatment, progression to stage 5 kidney failure within 2 to 3 years. Chief Ikena was sick, seriously sick, and he hadn't told anyone. Suddenly, his urgent need for a wife made perfect sense. He wasn't just looking for someone to care for his children. He was looking for someone who would protect them when he was gone. Chioma's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. If you care about those children, get them out of that house tonight. You're all in danger. Her heart pounding. She looked out the study window and saw 2 black cars parked across the street with their lights off. Cars that hadn't been there an hour ago. Another text arrived. Adana hired men to make this look like a robbery. She gets life insurance and custody if Ikena dies in a home invasion. Chioma felt sick. Mama Adana wasn't just fighting for custody. She was planning to murder Chief Ikena and make it look like a random crime. But Chief Ikena was in Lagos. How could Mama Adana know when he'd return? The answer came in the form of voices from the hallway. Mama Adana was on her phone again, but this time Chioma could hear her clearly. He just landed in Lagos. The meeting will take all night, so he won't be back until morning. Yes, I'm sure the house is secure. The new woman doesn't suspect anything, and Ngozi is too stupid to figure out. Make it look like they resisted. I need the insurance money clean. Chioma realized with horror that she and the children were supposed to die too. Mama Adana's plan required no witnesses who could contradict her story about a random home invasion. Moving as quietly as possible, she began waking the children one by one. Kelechi, she whispered to the oldest boy, I need you to help me get your brothers and sisters dressed. We're going on an adventure. In the middle of the night? Sometimes the best adventures happen at night. Can you be my brave helper? Within 20 minutes, she had all 5 children dressed and quietly gathered in the back hallway. But as they prepared to leave through the kitchen door, they heard cars pulling into the driveway. The men had arrived early. Mama Chioma, I'm scared. China and I whispered. I know, baby, but we're going to play a game. We're going to be very, very quiet and sneak out the back like ninjas. Through the window, she could see 3 men in dark clothes approaching the front door. They had guns. Her phone buzzed again. Back garden. Climb over wall behind the mango tree. Car waiting on Opera Avenue. Chioma didn't know who was helping her, but she had no choice but to trust them. Getting 5 children aged 5 to 8 over a 6-foot wall in the dark was the hardest thing she'd ever done. But fear for their lives gave her strength she didn't know she had. As they dropped into the alley behind the house, she could hear glass breaking from inside the mansion. The home invasion had begun. A small white car was indeed waiting on Opera Avenue, driven by a woman she'd never seen before. "Get in quickly," the woman said. "I'm Detective Ifeoma Ease, CID. We've been watching the situation for weeks." As they drove away, Chioma could see fire beginning to flicker in the windows of Chief Ikena's beautiful home. "The children," she gasped. "What about Mama Ngozi? Is she—" Mama Ngozi was never part of Dana's plan, Detective Ease explained grimly. She was supposed to die too, to eliminate any competition for the inheritance. In the back seat, the 5 children held on to each other and watched their home burn in the distance. "Where's Daddy?" Kelechi asked quietly. "He's safe, baby," Chioma promised, though she had no idea if that was true. "But we need to call him right now." Chioma just saved 5 children from a murder plot. But is Chief Ikena really safe in Lagos? And who is Detective Ease? And how does she know so much about this conspiracy? The next chapter reveals a shocking truth about why Chief Ikena is really being targeted. Subscribe now, because this story is about to expose a conspiracy bigger than anyone imagined. Chief Ikena's phone went straight to voicemail as Detective Ease raced through Enugu's empty streets with Chioma and the 5 children. But what they discovered at the safe house would reveal that the attack on their home was just the beginning of a plot to destroy Nigeria's youngest tech billionaire. You thought this was about a bitter custody battle? Think again. The truth about why Chief Ikena is being hunted will blow your mind. Hit that like button if you're ready for this explosive revelation. The safe house was a modest apartment in New Haven, but to the 5 frightened children, it felt like sanctuary. Detective Ease had snacks waiting, cartoon movies ready, and blankets for everyone. She clearly had experience with witness protection. While the children were distracted by Tom and Jerry cartoons, Detective Ease sat Chioma down at the kitchen table with a thick file folder. "Chioma, I need you to understand what you've walked into. Chief Ikena Okoro isn't just any wealthy man. He's the founder of DigiPay, Nigeria's largest mobile money platform." Chioma nodded. She'd heard of DigiPay. Everyone in Nigeria used it for bank transfers and bill payments. "What most people don't know," Detective Ease continued, "is that Chief Ikena's platform processes over 2 trillion naira monthly. That makes him one of the most powerful fintech leaders in Africa. But what does that have to do with Mama Dana trying to kill us?" Detective Ease opened the folder and spread out photographs, bank statements, and surveillance photos. Mama Dana doesn't work alone. She's part of an international money laundering syndicate that's been trying to gain control of DigiPay for over 2 years. Chioma stared at a photo of Mama Dana sitting in an expensive restaurant with 3 white men in business suits. These men represent a consortium of European investors who want to use DigiPay's platform to move illegal money across Africa. Chief Ikena has refused all their buyout offers. So they decided to kill him? Worse, they decided to destroy him systematically. First, they planted Mama Dana and Mama Ngozi in his life to create chaos and legal problems. Then they convinced these women to have children with him, creating more complications. Detective Ease showed Chioma financial records. "Look at these payments. Mama Dana has received over 50 million naira in the past 3 years from shell companies connected to the European syndicate. She was paid to seduce him. She was paid to destroy him. The custody lawsuits, the constant fighting, the home chaos. It was all designed to break Chief Ikena down emotionally and financially." Chioma felt sick. Those beautiful children upstairs were products of a conspiracy, innocent victims of their mother's greed. "But Detective, how do you know all this? And how did you know to save us tonight?" Detective Ease smiled grimly. "Because Chief Ikena hired me 6 months ago. He suspected something was wrong, but couldn't prove it. When he met you and decided to bring you home, he asked me to watch the house. He knew I was in danger? He knew everyone was in danger. That's why he needed someone the syndicate couldn't compromise, someone who couldn't be bought with promises of money or influence. Because I can't have children," Chioma realized. "Exactly. You have no biological leverage over him, no way to claim inheritance rights. In their eyes, you're worthless as an asset. But that makes you invaluable as an ally." Detective Ease's phone rang. After a brief conversation, her face went pale. The Lagos meeting was a trap. Chief Ikenna never made it to the conference room. His car was found abandoned near Muratala Muhammad Airport. Chioma's world tilted. He's been kidnapped, or worse. The syndicate has been watching his movements for months. They knew exactly when and where to strike. 8-year-old Kelechi appeared in the kitchen doorway, his eyes red from crying. Annie Detective, is Daddy gonna die like Mama Dana wanted? Detective Ease knelt down to his level. Kelechi, your daddy is a very smart man who prepared for situations like this. We're gonna find him. But privately, she whispered to Chioma, his kidney disease makes this more complicated. If they're holding him somewhere without his medications. Chioma's phone suddenly rang with a call from Chief Ikenna's number. She answered eagerly. Ikenna, but the voice that replied was cold and unfamiliar, with a slight European accent. Ms. Okonkwo, I presume. How unfortunate that you and the children survived tonight's incident. Who is this? Where is Chief Ikenna? Chief Okoro is safe for now, but his health is fragile. He needs his medications regularly, doesn't he? Chioma looked at Detective Ease, who was frantically signaling for her to keep the caller talking while she traced the call. What do you want? It's very simple. Chief Okoro will sign over controlling interest in DG Pay to our consortium. In exchange, you and the children live, and he receives a medical treatment he desperately needs. And if he refuses, then Nigeria will read about a tragic home invasion that killed a beloved tech entrepreneur and 5 innocent children. Very sad. But these things happen in such a dangerous country. The line went dead. Detective Ease looked at her equipment. Untraceable satellite phone. But I got enough to confirm they're still in Nigeria, probably somewhere within a 50-kilometer radius of Lagos. Detective, even if we find him, how do we know he won't just give them what they want to save our lives? Because I know Ikenna Okoro. He built DG Pay from nothing, and he knows that if criminals control Nigeria's largest fintech platform, millions of innocent people will suffer. Just then, Detective Ease's secure laptop chimed with an incoming message. It's from Chief Ikenna, she said, reading rapidly. He managed to send a coded message through DG Pay's emergency protocol system. What does it say? 3 words, protect my family. Chioma looked at the 5 children sleeping peacefully in the living room, finally safe after a childhood of chaos and neglect. They're not just his family anymore, she said quietly. They're mine too. Detective E smiled. That's exactly what he was hoping you'd say. But as she spoke, her phone buzzed with an urgent alert from Lagos CD. Multiple casualties reported at DG Pay headquarters. Building currently under siege. Chief Ikenna is being held hostage while his company is under attack. Will Chioma's love for the children give her the courage to take on an international conspiracy? And what's Chief Ikenna's secret plan that he coded into DG Pay's system? The next chapter reveals a shocking counterattack that will change everything. Don't forget to subscribe because this final battle is going to be epic. The DG Pay headquarters was surrounded by Nigerian military as news helicopters circled overhead. But what Chief Ikenna had programmed into his company's system would turn the tables on his kidnappers in a way that would shock the world. Meanwhile, Chioma was about to prove that a barren woman could be the fiercest mother of all. You thought Chief Ikenna was helpless? You thought Chioma was just a victim? Wait until you see what happens when Nigeria's tech genius and a determined stepmother team up to destroy an international conspiracy. Smash that like button, because this chapter will leave you cheering. At the safe house, Detective Ease was coordinating with Lagos CID while Chioma watched the children sleep. The news was broadcasting live coverage of the siege at DG Pay headquarters, but the reporters had no idea they were witnessing the climax of a years-long conspiracy. Chioma, Detective Ease called urgently. You need to see this. On her laptop screen was a secure video call from Chief Ikenna himself. He looked weak and was clearly being held against his will, but his eyes were alert and determined. My beautiful wife, he said, and Chioma's heart jumped at hearing him call her that with genuine affection. Are my children safe? All 5 of them are here with me, sleeping peacefully. Good. Listen carefully. I need you to go to my study. The real study, not the office. Behind the family photo on the bookshelf, there's a hidden safe. The combination is the birth date of each child in order: Kelechi, Chidi, Adiz, Amara, Chinanai. But the house had burned down. I kenna the house. I know about the fire. I'm not talking about the Enugu house. I'm talking about the family house in Awka, where my grandmother lives. That's where I keep the real important documents. Detective Ease was already grabbing car keys. We can be there in an hour. Chioma, Chief Ikenna continued, in that safe is a flash drive labeled insurance policy. It contains evidence of every transaction, every payment, every communication syndicate has made over the past 3 years. Through the video call, they could hear someone shouting at Chief Ikenna in the background. They want me to transfer control of DG Pay to them, he said quickly. But what they don't know is that I built a fail-safe into the system. If I'm coerced into making the transfer, the system automatically locks down and sends all transaction records to every major news outlet in Africa and Europe. So, why haven't you triggered it? Chief Ikenna's expression grew sad. Because the failsafe also freezes every DG Pay account in Nigeria for 72 hours. That means millions of people won't be able to access their money, pay their bills, or feed their families. Chioma understood. He was choosing between destroying his enemies and protecting innocent Nigerians who depended on his platform. But Ikenna, you can't let them win. That's why I need you to get that flash drive to Detective Ease. She'll know what to do with it. The video call suddenly cut off, but not before they heard Chief Ikenna shouting. You want DG Pay? Fine. But first, let me show you what real Nigerian technology can do. An hour later, Chioma stood in a modest family compound in Awka, where Chief Ikenna's 80-year-old grandmother, Mama Adiz, lived. The elderly woman welcomed them warmly despite the late hour. So you're the wife my grandson chose, Mama Adiz said, studying Chioma carefully. The one who can't have children. Yes, Mama. Good. Those children need a mother who will love them for themselves, not because they share her blood. In Chief Ikenna's childhood study, Chioma found a hidden safe exactly where he described. Her hand shook as she entered the birth dates of each child, these 5 beautiful souls who would become her purpose in life. The safe opened to reveal not just a flash drive, but also legal documents that made Chioma gasp. Detective, look at this. It was a will, dated just 1 week ago, leaving everything to Chioma, with a provision that she uses wealth to care for all 5 children equally and establish a foundation for abandoned children across Nigeria. He knew this was coming. Detective Ease realized. He prepared for the possibility that he might not survive. But the flash drive contained something even more shocking. As Detective Ease plugged it into her laptop, they discovered it wasn't just evidence of the syndicate's money laundering. These are recordings. Detective Ease breathed. Chief Ikenna secretly recorded every meeting, every phone call, every interaction with the syndicate for the past 6 months. They listened in amazement as Mama Dana's voice clearly outlined the murder plot. We eliminate all witnesses, make it look like a robbery, and I inherit everything as the mother of his children. Then a European man's voice. And once you control his assets, you'll transfer DigiPay ownership to our Cyprus-based holding company. These recordings will destroy the entire network, Detective Ease said. But first, we need to save Chief Ikenna. Chioma looked at the sleeping children in Detective Ease's car, then at the evidence that could free their father. Detective, I have an idea, but it's going to require me to do something very dangerous. What are you thinking? The syndicate thinks I'm worthless because I can't have children. But what if that's exactly what makes me valuable? 2 hours later, Chioma walked into DG Pay headquarters in Lagos with a briefcase, flanked by federal agents posing as lawyers. The building was still under siege, but the kidnappers agreed to let her enter when she claimed to have Chief Ikenna sign transfer documents. She was led to the executive conference room, where Chief Ikenna was being held. He looked shocked to see her. Chioma, what are you doing here? Saving my family, she said. Simply, the lead kidnapper, a tall European man with cold eyes, examined the briefcase. Ms. Okonkwo, I hope you brought what we asked for. I have, Chioma said, opening the case. Chief Ikenna signed transfer documents, his banking passwords, and access to all DG Pay systems. But instead of documents, the briefcase contained a tablet streaming live to every major news network in Nigeria and Europe. "What I really brought you," Chioma said loudly for the cameras, "is justice." On cue, federal agents stormed the building while news cameras captured everything. The recordings from Chief Ikenna's flash drive played simultaneously on every news channel, exposing an entire international conspiracy. "You see," Chioma said to the stunned kidnappers, "you made one crucial mistake. You assumed a woman who can't have children has nothing to fight for." She looked directly into the camera. "But I have 5 children who need their father, and a husband who chose me not despite my inability to have children, but because of it." As the kidnappers were arrested, Chief Ikenna pulled Chioma into his arms. "You magnificent, brilliant woman," he whispered. "I love you. The conspiracy is exposed, and the family is safe. But wait until you see what happens when Chief Ikenna's recovery leads to the biggest surprise of all. The final chapter will restore your faith in love, family, and second chances. Subscribe now because this ending will leave you crying happy tears." 6 months later, Chioma stood in the garden of their new family home in Abuja, watching Chief Ikenna push little China on a swing while the other 4 children played football nearby. But what the doctor told them that morning would change their understanding of miracles forever. This is it, the moment that brings everything full circle. If this story has touched your heart, smash that like button and subscribe because this ending will leave you believing in the power of love to create miracles. The months following the DG Pay conspiracy have been a whirlwind of healing and rebuilding. Mama Adana and 3 members of the European syndicate were sentenced to life in prison. Mama Ngozi, who had been completely unaware of the murder plot, was allowed to maintain a relationship with her children under supervised visits. Chief Ikenna's kidney disease was now well managed with proper medication and treatment. More importantly, the stress of constant conflict had been removed from his life, allowing him to truly heal both physically and emotionally. The children had flourished under Chioma's care. 8-year-old Kelechi now called her Mama Chioma with genuine affection. 7-year-old Chidi had stopped having nightmares. The 6-year-old twins, Adiz and Amara, included her in their prayers every night, and 5-year-old China refused to go anywhere without holding Chioma's hand. But the biggest change was in Chief Ikenna himself. The sad, exhausted man who had bought a wife out of desperation had become a devoted husband and father who came home every day eager to spend time with his family. "Mama, watch me," Adiz called out, doing a cartwheel on the grass. "Beautiful, my darling." Chioma called back, then felt a familiar wave of sadness. These children would never truly be hers biologically. She would always be the stepmother, the woman who couldn't give Chief Ikenna children of his own blood. As if reading her thoughts, Chief Ikenna appeared beside her and took her hand. "You're thinking too much again," he said gently. "I was just watching them play and thinking how lucky I am to be part of their lives." "Chioma, there's something I need to tell you. Something I learned this morning at my doctor's appointment." Her heart skipped. "Is your kidney condition getting worse?" "No, my love. My kidneys are stable. But Dr. Adebayo asked me to bring you in next week for some tests." "What kind of tests?" Chief Ikenna smiled mysteriously. "He thinks there might be a reason you never conceived with your first husband that has nothing to do with you being barren." "I don't understand." "Chioma, your ex-husband Okechukwu came to see me last month." She stared at him in shock. "What? Why?" "To confess something that's been eating at him for years. He wanted me to know that he's the one who's infertile, not you. He had mumps as a child that affected his fertility, but he was too ashamed to admit it. So he let you carry the blame for 7 years." Chioma felt like the ground was shifting beneath her feet. "You mean?" "You were never barren, my love. You were just married to a man who couldn't give you children and was too proud to admit it." Tears streamed down her face as years of shame and self-doubt crumbled away. "But that means—" "It means," Chief Ikenna said, pulling her into his arms, "that if you want to, we might be able to have children together. But you said you didn't want more children. You said the house was already chaotic enough." Chief Ikenna laughed. a sound full of joy she'd rarely heard from him. That was when I thought I'd have to deal with more baby mamas and custody battles. But with you, Chioma, if we had children together, they would grow up in a house full of love, with siblings who adore them and parents who chose each other. The children had stopped playing and were watching their conversation with curious faces. Are you and Daddy having a baby? China and I asked with 5-year-old directness. Would you like that? Chioma asked carefully. All 5 children started talking at once. Yes, yes, a baby brother. Can we name him Kelechi Jr.? What if it's a girl? She should be called Chioma Jr. I want to help change diapers. Chioma looked at these 5 beautiful souls who had accepted her so completely, then at her husband who had seen her value when she couldn't see it herself. What do you think? Chief Ikenna whispered in her ear. I think, Chioma said, wiping away happy tears, that these children need a baby sibling to spoil and protect. 3 months later, Dr. Adebayo smiled as he showed Chioma and Chief Ikenna the ultrasound image. Congratulations, you're having twins. Chief Ikenna laughed until he cried. 7 children. I'm going to have 7 children. We're going to have 7 children, Chioma corrected. At home that evening, they gathered all 5 children in the living room for the announcement. You remember how you asked for a baby brother or sister? Chioma began. Did it work? Are you having a baby? Adiz bounced excitedly. Not one baby. Chief Ikenna grinned. 2 babies. The house erupted in celebration. Kelechi immediately declared himself head of security for the twins. Chidi announced he would teach them to play football. The twins, Adiz and Amara, started planning matching outfits, and little China and I solemnly promised to share all her toys. That night, as Chioma and Chief Ikenna lay in bed listening to the happy chaos of their 5 children discussing baby names in the next room, she marveled at how completely her life had transformed. Ikenna, she whispered, do you think it's wrong that I'm grateful for all those years of thinking I was barren? Why would you think that? Because if I hadn't been divorced and considered damaged goods, my father never would have sold me to you, and I never would have found this family. Chief Ikenna turned to face her in the darkness. Chioma, do you know what I told your father when I paid him that money? What? I told him I wasn't buying you. I was investing in Nigeria's future. Because any woman who could survive 7 years of being blamed for something that wasn't her fault and still have kindness in her heart was someone who could help me raise children who would change the world. And do you still believe that? Even more now. Look what you've done in just 1 year. 5 children who were caught in the middle of a war now have a mother who loves them unconditionally. A conspiracy that could have destroyed thousands of lives was exposed because you were brave enough to protect your family. And now we're bringing 2 more souls into a home filled with love instead of chaos. 6 months later, baby Ikenna Jr. and baby Adama were born on the same day that Chief Ikenna received the African Business Leader of the Year award for his work in ethical fintech development. But he barely noticed the award ceremony. He was too busy in the hospital, watching Chioma hold their newborn twins while their 5 older children took turns being gentle with the babies. Mama, Kelechi whispered, they look just like you. They look like love, Chioma replied, watching his 8-year-old Kelechi softly sing a lullaby to baby Ikenna Jr. The nurse who had been taking care of them smiled. I've never seen such a devoted family. Those older children act like they've been waiting their whole lives for these babies. In a way, they've been, Chioma said. We all have been. As the sun set over Abuja, casting golden light through the hospital window, Chioma reflected on the extraordinary journey that had brought her here. She had gone from being a barren woman sold by her own father to being the cherished wife of one of Nigeria's most successful entrepreneurs and the beloved mother of 7 children. What are you thinking about? Chief Ikenna asked, settling into the chair beside her bed. I'm thinking about that day in Awka when you paid my father 200,000 naira for me. Best money I ever spent, he grinned. I'm thinking about how you said you chose me because I couldn't have children. And now here we are with 7 of them. I'm thinking about how sometimes what the world sees as your greatest weakness becomes your greatest strength. Chief Ikenna took her hand, careful not to disturb the baby sleeping in her arms. Chioma, Do you know what I've learned in the past year? What? Family isn't just about blood. It's about choice. I chose you, you chose me, and together we chose to build something beautiful out of something that seemed broken. As if on cue, all 5 of their older children quietly entered the hospital room, having convinced the nurses to let them see their baby siblings one more time before bed. "Look," whispered Amara, pointing to the twins. "They're holding hands." Sure enough, baby Ikenna Jr. and baby Adama had found each other's tiny fingers and were holding on tight. Just like our whole family, China and I said wisely. 2 years later, Chioma stood before the Nigerian Senate Committee on Child Welfare, holding baby Adama while 2-year-old Ikenna Jr. played at her feet. She was testifying about the bill she had drafted, the Chioma Okoro Foundation Child Protection Act. "Honorable Senators," she began, her voice strong and clear, "I stand before you today not just as a wife of a successful businessman, but as a woman who was once sold like property because society deemed me worthless." The packed Senate chamber was silent, hanging on her every word. In Nigeria today, there are thousands of women being divorced, abandoned, or sold because they cannot have children. Children like my beautiful 5 are being used as weapons in custody battles instead of being cherished as gifts. This must end. Senator Adiz Okafor leaned forward. "Mrs. Okoro, what specific changes does your foundation propose?" "First, mandatory fertility testing for both spouses before any divorce proceedings based on infertility. Second, legal protections for women against being abandoned for reproductive issues. Third, government support for adoption and foster care programs." She looked directly at the cameras broadcasting live across Nigeria. "But most importantly, we must change how we think about family. Blood doesn't make a family. Love does. Choice does. Commitment does." After her testimony, Chioma walked out of the National Assembly building to find Chief Ikenna waiting with all 7 children. 9-year-old Kelechi held a sign reading, "Our mama is a hero," while the twins, Adiz and Amara, had painted their faces with the colors of the Nigerian flag. "How did it go?" Chief Ikenna asked, taking baby Adama from her arms. "The bill will pass," Chioma said confidently. "But more importantly, I think we started changing minds today." As they drove home through Abuja, Chioma's phone buzzed with messages from women across Nigeria sharing their own stories of being blamed for infertility, thanking her for giving them hope. But the message that moved her most came from an unexpected source. "Chioma, I watched your testimony today. I've spent 2 years in therapy dealing with my guilt over what I put you through. Today, I told my new wife the truth about my condition. Thank you for showing me what real love looks like." Okachukwu, that evening, as the family gathered for dinner in their Abuja home, Chioma looked around the table at her extraordinary life. Chief Ikenna was helping Ikenna Jr. eat rice while debating football with 8-year-old Chidi. The twins were teaching baby Adama to clap her hands. 6-year-old Chinanai was showing Kelechi her school drawing of their family, all 9 of them holding hands under a rainbow. "Mama," Kelechi said suddenly, "my teacher asked me to tell the class about my family for our presentation next week." "What are you going to say?" Chioma asked. "I'm going to tell them that families come in all shapes and sizes. Some people are born into families. Some people choose their families, and the luckiest people get both." He looked around the table with the wisdom of a 9-year-old who had lived through more than most adults. "I'm going to tell them that my mama chose to love us before she even knew she could have babies of her own. And that makes us the luckiest family in Nigeria." Chief Ikenna reached across the table and took Chioma's hand. "You know what I realized today, watching you speak to those senators?" "What?" "That woman I bought for 200,000 naira 3 years ago, she was worth far more than I could ever afford. But the woman you become, she's priceless." Chioma smiled, watching her 7 children laugh and argue and love each other around the dinner table. From being sold as damaged goods to becoming a voice for voiceless women across Nigeria, her journey had come full circle. But perhaps the most beautiful part was that it wasn't really an ending at all. It was a beginning for her family, for the thousands of women who would benefit from her advocacy, and for a new generation of children who would grow up knowing that love, not blood, makes a family whole. as thunder rumbled outside their Abuja home. Chioma remembered another rainy night 3 years ago when she had knelt in the dust of her father's compound, believing her life was over. She couldn't have imagined then that being sold as a barren woman would lead her to become the mother of 7 children, the wife of a man who chose her for exactly who she was, and an advocate for change that would impact generations of Nigerian families. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us become the foundation for the most beautiful life we never knew we wanted. 6 months later, the Chioma Okoro Foundation had opened 5 shelter homes across Nigeria for women abandoned due to infertility. Chief Ikenna had developed a new app called Family Connect that helped match orphaned children with loving families regardless of biological relationships. And in their home in Abuja, 7 children grew up knowing that they were chosen, cherished, and loved not because of where they came from, but because of the family they had built together, one choice, one act of love at a time. From being sold as a barren woman to changing laws that protect thousands of Nigerian women, Chioma's incredible journey proves that your greatest pain can become your greatest purpose. This transformation from victim to victor will restore your faith in second chances and the power of chosen family. What part of the story inspired you most? Let me know in the comment below, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing African stories that prove ordinary people can change the world. Until next time, remember, you are never too broken to build something beautiful, and your story isn't over until you decide it is.